Right, if you've not checked in yet, give you another minute here while I'm getting all powered up. You just basically tap the check-in button on the iPad when you guys come in every Tuesday. We'll only do the check-in on Tuesdays only, just a way to keep roster. On Thursdays, I don't have you guys check in because I have you submit a lab every Thursday. So, well, this is pct130, and my name is Chuck Honk. I'll be with you the next 15, 16 weeks. This is Intro to Network Security. And this course I've taught for 15 years, and so pretty much in this classroom the whole time. When I first started out, I believe it was 213. Yeah, 213 with this class used to be in there. We had all the computers around the wall. But network security has evolved quite a bit over that time. Techniques and protocols are fairly much the same, but what's been new on the rise in the last few years is network security as it pertains to mobile devices, and because that's what everybody uses. And so hackers are really ramping up hacks for not only Droids, but also for iOS and Windows phones. Droids will probably be the worst in the spectrum as far as getting the most attacks. Second would be Windows, third, iOS. But network security landscape, when I started, was all desktop laptops you had to worry about. But again, today, most of it that IT folks are focusing on is tablets, phones. Not that we're not focusing on desktops and laptops, but the focus has shifted. People are bringing their own devices to work, hopping on the network. That could cause issues, especially they might have a virus on their device, whether it be laptop, tablet, phone. So that's totally new to IT, and when I mean new, I mean within the last 5 years. And so the spectrum of change has dramatically changed from when I started in IT 25 years ago. And so a little bit about myself, and then we'll kind of go around the room. And we only have, I think, right now registered 10 in this class. I just looked, which is a good number. Good number to be intimate in our labs and have a good time. The fall semester generally lower numbers in here than my spring. My spring is generally full, but falls are a little low. And because of the economy, numbers are low across the board in all colleges, which is a good thing, but good thing for people that are getting jobs. But education numbers are down, but our funding's down as well. Everybody's is across the state. So we're glad that you guys chose Rock Valley and you're here tonight. And hopefully you'll learn some things about network security and be able to implement them in your daily work, in your life. And so every lab that we do has been created and morphed over the years by myself, and try to update them each semester. And so the makeup of the class as far as how it's class agenda, on Tuesdays generally we'll have discussion over the chapter content. On Thursday we'll have the lab. So as soon as you come to class on Tuesday, you'll check in with your smartphone using your QR code. Thursday you'll come in, you don't need to check in. You'll have a handout generally on Thursday, and a lot of times even software, and we'll do a lab that Thursday. Yes? Oh, QR code is just an image. It's just an image that I sent you in an email. And yeah, it's all it is. It's just an image, and I can actually show you what one looks like. That way you'll kind of know when you get it. So don't feel bad that you don't know what a QR code is. That's what it looks like right there. And you'll get an email from me. It's in RBC email, not in your, it's not going to be in your,
I don't see an image here, but.
Well, there should be a link.
Right here?
Is that the email I sent? Yeah, that's not the email I sent. Go to your inbox at the very top. It should say come from no reply.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, click on that. There's a link in that email that you can click on.
Okay.
And if you have a smartphone with you, you can just take a picture of it actually on the monitor, and that should suffice.
Okay.
And then you can use that to check in. And we can check in at the end as well. No big deal. So we'll check in on Tuesday with your QR code using the iPad app. The iPad app was developed in my iOS class that I teach. It's been about the third year we've used it. A number of faculty are also using it to check in students. So Tuesday check-in, we'll go over the content. Thursday we'll come in and do the lab. Whatever time we're done on the lab, we're done with the class on Thursday. Sometimes that'll go right to the end. Sometimes it might only take 30 minutes. It just depends on the lab. As far as working together, some of the labs you do work by yourself, but then a lot of labs you work in groups of 2 or more. And so I do recommend bringing a 3-ring binder on Thursday and maybe a sleeve to hold software that I give out periodically. And by the end of the semester, then you can have a binder of network security labs we've done, along with any notes you've taken during the labs. The labs that we'll go over in just a second on the overhead, but they range everywhere. Starting next week, I believe, next Thursday is our first lab. This week we just do an intro tonight. Thursday I do discussion on the chapter. And then next week, we actually are the first time we do a lab next Thursday. And it's going to be on NT Reset, the first lab, where I show you how to use a Linux utility to reset a password on a computer. And in IT, a lot of times people in a company will quit, get fired, whatever the case may be. And sometimes if they're in IT, they might do some malicious things prior to leaving, like reset an admin password on a server, on a machine, a PC somewhere. So this tool shows you how to reset the password, regardless of what it is, within about 1 minute, 30 seconds. And it's a utility that was developed by an IT security professional from Germany. And NT Reset's been out for about 10 years. And so that's the first lab we'll do. And students have used that tool within their workplace, like the week of that lab. Something happened in their department, somebody left and needed to use that tool. Because otherwise, the only alternative is to re-image that computer and start over again. And so IT departments are notorious for being skeleton crews, and so don't have a lot of time to do that. And so anything you can do to minimize your downtime, the better. And so we start out with that, and then throughout the semester, we'll cover malicious code. We also cover getting hackers doing what's called man-in-the-middle attack, where in hotspots, an attacker can set up a laptop with a rogue access point and gather traffic from anybody in that environment. An example would be like Starbucks. A hacker could come in, set up a access point, the same name as Starbucks use, like maybe AT&T or something like that. But they might put in parentheses free or something, I don't know. And because it's closer in proximity to the folks in the cafe, computers are set in such a way to where it tries to find the closest, strongest signal. And so if they name it the very same name as the one in the location, a lot of times their computer's been in there before, it'll glom onto that closer one, which is a hacker one. Once they're connected, they can then do such things as gather passwords, traffic, just to name a couple things. In the lab that we do, we set up a man-in-the-middle attack before you come to class on Thursday, down the semester, and have you go into Facebook on your computers, log in with a bogus username password. I stop the attack, have you come to the computer that's the man-in-the-middle, and show you all the passwords I just gathered. And so that's one of the labs we do as well this semester. We also go over what's called in biometrics. There's some hacking that goes on, but also it's not used a lot in commercial use today. Consumers don't use biometrics a lot, but you will see a lot of times in governmental facilities. So we talk about that. And then hiding data is another lab we do. We talk about a lab where steganography, which is the art of hidden writing, and it talks about hiding data in data. So back in 2001, when Twin Towers were attacked. There was found in Al-Qaeda websites multiple images that had this technology applied to it, which had hidden data in it, hidden maps, hidden documents, plans of the attack, how they were going to do it, all on just a harmless website that anybody could get to. And so we'll talk about how that's done, and we'll do a lab on it. And that's just a few labs we're going to be doing this semester, just kind of give you a snapshot. So let's go over the makeup of the class as far as Eagle, just an intro night, not going to keep it real long. There is on the top part, some classroom information. We meet here on Tuesday, Thursday at 4:30. My office is 262. My office hours are not on here yet, but I've already submitted them to the office. It's going to be Monday from 5:30. Is that right? No. It's going to be Monday from 6:30 to 7:30, and then Tuesday from 3 to 4:30. Wednesday, I'm not here. Thursday from 3 to 4:30, and then I'll be here for an hour after this class before my pct110, and I'll be in this room. So if you need to meet with me or need to talk to me about this class or maybe another class you're thinking of taking, or you need advising for classes, I do that for our division. The other thing that we've left up here at the table you can take when you leave is 2 cards. One is a My RVC card, which is, if you look over on the board there, the My CS at RVC, the blue poster where it says need a job, ? That's our website, our divisional website, where we post jobs for students. We just posted one today for a student worker in IT, 20 hours a week, working with Tavis in IT, and you'll be doing such things as working with switches, cabling. So if you've taken any Cisco classes or if you're interested in networking, he's willing to work with you. But there's a website you have to click on when you go to our page, which is an internal site for job postings. And there's like 2 other jobs out there right now that have just been posted in the last week. So avail yourself to myrvc.org and like our Facebook and follow us on Twitter, because anytime I post a job, if you've liked us on Facebook and posted and follow us on Twitter, it'll come right to your phone, those jobs. And so I love to get students connected to local employers, and if you know of a job, let me know and I can post it for you. If your job is hiring for your job location, I can post it for you. Trying something new this semester, Periscope. For my online class, I'm doing 1 session a week. For this class, we'll probably play with it sometime, I don't know when, but there will be some network security ramifications with that. I've got a few things written down, so we'll talk about how it works if you've never used it. You can click on that Periscope link and it shows you how to go in, and I'll click on it here. This one basically goes to some Periscopes I've done already, but anybody been on Periscope yet? You've played with it at all? Periscope is basically a Twitter invention, and what it does is all you need to do on your end is have a Twitter account. You download the Periscope app on the App Store, Droid or iOS, either one, and then you can actually create your own Periscope, meaning I could do one tonight, start one, and show everybody your faces, and they could ask questions around the world about the class and why you're taking the class or whatever. So people that are recording it, myself, if I would start a Periscope, I just talk to the people that's out there. And then the viewers can make comments and tap the screen for hearts if they like what they hear, like what they see. And so one of the use cases I'm trying to use it for in this class, in my 110 class, is I want to get, for network security, a network security specialist to come in, use Periscope, we'll show it up on the overhead, and then you guys can ask any questions on your phone by connecting to the Periscope session, and then the person can answer those questions. And the way you can set up a Periscope is either public or private. If you set up a public one, I can set it to where only followers that I follow can comment and nobody else can, because just like all social media, you get a lot of trolls that can come in and post stupid stuff. And so the way I'm doing it is I'm only allowing those I follow to comment. That way I don't have to worry about it. Now the whole world can watch it, but only those that I follow, which would be you. If you sign up to Periscope, you can follow me, can comment. Does that make sense? So it is worth looking into. There's a lot of cool things. Like today I watched a guy he was a New York reporter, sports reporter, that went to London and was doing, you know, like normal London, people that visit London, you know, Big Ben, all the big attractions, was going to all of them. And he was, while he was going to them, he was showing people pictures, and then he would do anything they wanted to do, like, you know, put the Big Ben on top of his head, you know, and they would take a snapshot of it, and just stuff like that, just silly stuff like that. But then there's serious stuff where people will have, like in IT, they might have a roundtable discussion on a certain technology, and people from the public can ask questions on this technology. So that's a cool way to use it. On that format, you would probably want to open up the comments to anybody, and then it does allow you though to block. So if I see a troll come in, I can just click on their name and block them pretty easy. So I would recommend looking into it. It's good technology. I think it just came out in May or June of this year, and so we'll be looking into it, playing around with it. The other link in here is general course navigation helps, which you can read outside of class, but it just tells you about how the course is made up. Course success, I will click on that one. Course success goes over how to succeed in the course, which is basically referring to, you know, doing your chapter reading each week, showing up to class on time. The website starts slow today. Let me change Wi-Fi. You guys loading slow on your end too, or is it just me? Okay, just me. All right, thank you. Let me change Wi-Fi's here real quick. Now let's talk about Wi-Fi's, I guess, while I'm changing them. You'll see a lot of new Wi-Fi's out there this semester. Maybe you might have noticed if you have a phone you already connected, or a tablet or whatever. Let's talk about these real quick, especially new students. RBC Easy Web Internet, that SSID, if you connect to that one, it will prompt you for your S credentials, your student ID and password that you say. Same ones you use for your email and online services. The employee AirPlay only is to connect teachers that teach with iPad that want to push it to the projector. We use that one. So you can try to connect to that one and hack into it, but you won't be able to. RBC Guest is a guest account. It's a new one actually, as of last semester, and we created it for the public to come in and connect to Wi-Fi if they want to. It's open. There's no security on that as far as login authentication. It's a little slower than the RBC Web, Easy Web, but not too much slower. And then the RBC Key SSG Test 2, and Tests are all new technologies. We're testing on new Wi-Fi access points much faster. That once we get it all worked out, we'll probably port it over to the Easy Web and the RBC and RBC Guest. So anyway, the one I recommend you connecting to is either RBC Guest for just general browsing, no problem. You'll connect into it every time. It's a little slower, but for general email, browsing, web, it's fine. If you want something a little faster, not much faster, but a little faster, is the RBC Easy Web Internet for students. So those two, RBC Guest and then RBC Easy Web Internet.
And also RBC Straight.
RBC Straight is for employees only. employees only. So you have to have an E number to get into that one.
Oh, I can
But if you have an E number, you can get in. You've been logging in with your S?
Yeah, that's not.
Really? Awesome. Well, I'll let Brett know.
Only on phone. On Windows computer doesn't work.
Okay, Windows it doesn't work. But on your phone it works fine?
Yeah.
Log in with your S number? Okay. There you go. So you guys can log into the RVC, and that's much faster than the RVC Easy Web and RVC Guest.
Oh yeah.
So much faster.
Plus you don't have to log in everywhere.
There you go. Yeah. So RVC would be the one. If you guys can get into that on your phones, I would recommend that one. That's awesome. And let's just open that up. I like that. Cool. So I'm going to go to the RVC because it's a lot faster and fly through this a little quicker. So let's talk about course success. In order to succeed in the course, do this each week. Read your chapter for that week before coming to class. I talk so good about RVC now that I can't connect. Back to RVC Guest. And textbooks. The bookstore still has them, but you can find out the ISBN from the bookstore and buy it elsewhere if you want to. That's fine. To Amazon or wherever else you guys want to buy it. Buy it used. It's good, fine by me. You will need to text those starting next week. Review questions are due starting next week. And chapter content we'll talk about next week in detail. Participate in class discussion and labs as we have them. Complete all assignments by due date. And then silence all cell phones, put them on vibrate or something before coming to class. That's it, as far as course success goes. Now let's go to the syllabus real quick. I just want to highlight a few things on that. Really slow. That's okay. There we go. All right, I want to go down to the course description. I do want to see if I put in there my, yeah, ISBN's in there. Okay, cool. So course description is designed for students, professionals interested in understanding the field of network security and how it relates to other areas of information technology. It covers physical security, wireless, intrusion detection, remote access, web security, email authentication, cryptography, and various attack methodologies such as denial of service, man-in-the-middle, and malware attacks. 3 cores, it's a 3-semester hour, you get 3 credits for it. Network Security Guide to Network Security Fundamentals is the ISBN. Flash drive, it's on the syllabus, but I would recommend having one if you don't already, and buying, at least a 2 gig portable drive. Yes. Just syllabus, and the syllabus. Just click on syllabus there at the top. It should open it up in a new browser tab. This right here, the syllabus is right here. And this is recorded too, by the way. Everything we do on Tuesday is recorded. So if you do miss something or I go over something too quickly, which I have done in the past, you can go back in and look at that later. And this is going to be posted on our course site. This podcast will be posted right after class via YouTube. And I'll email everybody when it's up there. And then we also use iTunes U, which we'll talk about in a second as well. No, it's fine. It's the same content, basically. If you listen to one from last semester, you're good to go. It's going to be different dates and stuff like that, but it's going to be the same content pretty much. So, and that's a good question because, glad you brought that up. I don't kill podcasts from prior semesters until I override it with a new podcast. And so the podcasts that are out there in the course right now, I will not kill off. So if you want to look ahead, kind of see what we're going to be doing, that's good. The dates will not be the same. The dates will be off a little bit, but content will be the same. I've not changed anything from last semester, so you'll be good to go. Course objective, recognizing common attacks and probes against a server, developing useful strategies for securities, securing file, web, and email servers, recognizing, let me blow this up a little bit, recognizing and being able to differentiate between and explain methods of authentication. Different types of authentication. You have two-factor authentication. You're going to have biometric authentication. You can have voice recognition, fingerprint recognition, gait recognition, and that's where you walk. In fact, the new Mission Impossible movie includes gait recognition. So the guy has to do a palm authentication and then a gait recognition, which is kind of a cool part of the movie.
What do you mean
You want
by, what do you mean by
Gait is just walking.
Oh,
Yeah. And how they said it is you walk like a 10, 15 feet circumference, like a line. You walk one way and then back, and the computer tracks it, and then you can be authenticated that way because everybody has a certain gait. Yep. Hard to hack that one. Not impossible, but pretty hard. Now, also be recognized and differentiate different types of authentication, understand the concepts of and know how to reduce risk of social engineering. Social engineering is actually the #1 way that networks are hacked into even today. Kevin Mitnick, which was a number of movies done by him or about him, I'll mention a few throughout the semester that I recommend you watching. But anyway, Kevin Mitnick was a pro when it comes to social engineering. He definitely knew techie and knew hacking skills, but his best skill was social engineering. What that means is basically walking into a business and I have a 3-piece suit on, and I tell the secretary that's there, or the person at the front desk, whoever's there, I have a meeting with the CEO, I know the name already, we'll say it's Bob Smith. In 5 minutes, I forgot my file on my email. Could I come in and check my email on your computer? That would be such a wonderful thing if I could do that, because if I don't get this, my butt's on the wall. I'm gonna be killed for this one. Well, she's thinking immediately, what? What is she thinking immediately? What's the first thought?
oh no.
Yeah.
At work person.
Yeah, if I don't let this guy in, am I going to get fired? So, 9 times out of 10, that person's going to say, you know what, I'm going to get some coffee, I'll let you come in and do whatever you need to do, and I'll come back. Well, that minute, 2-minute window, that person could log in, run some type of app to get credentials from the network, connect remotely, whatever it is. We'll say he connected remotely somehow in a minute or 2 time frame. She comes back, he thanks her, walks in the building, but then exits out a door somewhere. And now he's got remote access to that computer after hours. Okay. That's the #1 way networks are still hacked into today. There's a DEF CON conference every year in Vegas where they do exercises on social engineering. Put guys in these glass booths, you get a couple of scripts to use, and see what they can do by just calling companies to get access remotely. And every year, companies like Walmart, Sears, JCPenney, big companies, are Pepsi, Coke, are part of they just randomly choose companies, and then if they can get in, or if they can't get in, they give a report back to the company post-session of what they could do, and this is how we did it. And so prior to the event, certain folks in those companies are made aware of this, by the way, so it's not just all, not told. But, an example was one year we did Walmart. And Walmart, not picking on Walmart because it's happened to all these different companies. Guy posed as a salesperson getting ready to come in, needing access to a file on the server, and started chatting with the guy about his day. I had to travel, I'm on a plane, I'm late, I know I don't want to put you out, but and you probably don't want to give me your username and password right now to get in, but it would really be a big help. The guy goes, yeah, sure. So gave him his username and password to log in, VPN access, use a Cisco authentication. The guy on the phone got in to the server, emailed himself from that server to prove, because you had to do certain things to prove you could get in. that you got in, and did some screenshots and things like that. And but he was in literally within about 3 or 4 minutes of the phone call, and he totally blew away the competition. But again, not picking on Walmart, this happens, and what just happened there, I told you about, happens at pretty much all Fortune 500 companies. Again, social engineer we'll talk about. So if you have the gift of gab, that will help you, but it'll also help you train people in your company on how hackers work today. Because most people think you're going to get hacked by opening an email. Not that you can't, but yeah, that definitely happened. Or you're going to get hacked by downloading a virus from an app you shouldn't have downloaded, or going to websites you shouldn't go to. Pretty much everyone knows that fairly much. Not to say even grandmas and grandpas know that pretty much today. Even little kids know that. But social engineering is one of those pieces in IT that's not taught much when it comes to educating employers and employees about the dangers of social engineering. Because Americans are the worst as far as when it comes to helping people, which isn't a bad thing. But even in northern Illinois, as stuck up as we are at times, if you see somebody pull over side of the road with 3 kids and they're trying to change a tire and it's a single mom, more than likely somebody's going to pull over and eventually help that person, right? And that's not a bad thing, but hackers take advantage of that. And the same thing with emailing, doing like phished email, which is basically guising yourself as a real company to, let's say, reset a password. People that fall for these attacks are generally nice people, normal people that are trusting and people that, hey, not everybody and your brother's out to get me. Now, you might be that way. And it's not a bad thing sometimes to be that way, because I think American folks probably, as far as been the brunt end of most attacks, and a lot of attacks you've probably not heard of, the public's not heard of, but because we are so gullible, I guess, in general, I would say. Not that other countries aren't gullible, but trusting and people in general. So social engineering is a big one we'll talk about. Also understand the concept and significance of auditing things, logging, and system scanning. An example I'll give you is after hours, when people are all gone, a lot of times is when hacks happen. And if you do a daily log or a weekly log scan of your computers to see failed login attempts after 5 p.m. to say 8 a.m. the next morning, you can be surprised what you'll find on a network. Just computers sitting there idly throughout the night. And it could be a maintenance crew. It could be somebody from outside, though, remoting in, a number of different things. And if you don't ever do a log audit of your computers, which every Windows computer does, Mac computer, Linux computer, does a log audit of every time you log into that computer, whether successfully or failure. And so if I have a computer that's being a failed login at 7 p.m. every Wednesday night for 2 or 3 times, something's going on. And then I could put a camera up in that location the next Wednesday it rolls around, and see what's going on. And I have worked in locations where we've done that and found out it was a maintenance person, or it was a person in construction, or somebody working late in another cubicle was coming over. An example was somebody was getting their change stolen, petty cash stolen. It wasn't any of the computer, but they were getting petty cash stolen every Wednesday, Thursday night. Ended up being a person working late was coming over and grabbing petty cash to go eat dinner and pop and whatever, and wasn't paying it back. And we set up a pin camera on a cabinet and was able to catch them. And so logging helps by catching things, catching red flags, and it's done already for you. Just so you'll learn tools to use to catch the auditing on all your computers on the network and to gather that data. Microsoft has some, but there's also some open source. I'm a big open source person, and you guys will use a lot of open source this semester and free software that's been developed for IT folks and by IT folks. So the next one is recognizing and understanding administration, many types of remote access. You'll do a few labs on actually using remote access, like TeamViewer would be one that we'll use this semester, where you'll learn how to use that, and why you want to use that. If you already have a computer at home that you use, I would recommend downloading and installing TeamViewer if you want to make note of that. It's totally free to do, and you can set it up to remote into it remotely from anywhere in the world, securely, from an iPhone, iPad, Droid, laptop, desktop, anywhere from around the world. If you have a client on your home computer, a team client, TeamViewer client, you can then remote in to that. In IT, we use TeamViewer a lot for server access outside the building, whether we remote into it or maybe we have folks that manage it outside the building. A lot of times we'll do that. So we'll go over that. We'll also look at recognizing and understanding wireless technologies in 802.11, which anytime you hear that, it's always referring to wireless. And we're going to be talking about WEP, which was the first iteration of wireless technology, which was a very weak technology, but it was very strong for the day because that's all we had when it first started out. But WEP is really easily hacked into, and we'll do a demo in here of how fast a WEP key can be hacked. Also talk about how even WPA2, which is a newer technology for security and Wi-Fi, can be hacked as well. And we'll be using tools like Cain Enable, that is a portable app that allows you to do such things like that. Understanding security concerns, concepts of network devices such as firewalls, routers, switches, modems, and workstations. On this one, I always just tell students, you know, if you've heard of routers or you've heard of the term maybe, some of you have worked with routers maybe in Cisco, all these routers have rules that are set up. And you can have the most expensive router in the world. And by the way, back up a little bit, a router basically is a device that connects the outside world with the inside world of a network. And there's rules that are set up by IT folks to upload into those routers, but the only security then that you have is those rules that you set up. So I've known IT folks that would buy an expensive router, set it up, plug it in, but not really work a lot on the rules that are in that router. And the rules are what makes it secure. And so we'll talk about that a little bit this semester. We'll talk about what rules routers have. We'll talk about how those are easily hacked into if that router's not set up properly. And for home users, I would say if you have a home Wi-Fi router, and if you've never went in and reset the admin password on that router, that would be a good thing to do tonight before you go home. Because all these SSI, all these routers have default username and passwords. That's the first thing hackers look at and try to access your router. If they try to glom onto it, whether at work or home, is using a default username and password. And you'd be surprised. We have a club here on campus called Cocoa Heads. We did what we call a war drive a semester and a half ago, where we met here on campus on a Saturday. About 10 students show up. We quadrant off the city 5 miles from here for students to take an app I gave them, downloaded from onto their phones or on their tablet to go around the city. And what these apps do is gather open or closed SSIDs. And then we came back, plotted it on a map, and went over on the overhead that plot. It was something like 60% of the SSIDs that they connected to were totally open, just totally open. Both residential, commercial, just open, could get right in, no security whatsoever. 30% of the remainder of that, which will make up to 90, 30% was WEP connection, very insecure as far as connections. We'll talk about why a lot of people still use WEP this semester. There is a reason for it. It's not, a lot of times it's not because they're just lazy. A lot of times it's because there's devices on their network that are very old and will only work with WEP Wi-Fi. And so for a company to buy all new equipment, they won't be able to do, and so they just leave it on older technology. But I will have a war driving. I'm thinking about having one again this semester. It's kind of interesting if you've never been a part of a war drive. I will not have it during the week. We'll have it on a Saturday. I usually have students come in, and then I buy pizza, and then we go out and gather data and then come back and look at our findings, which is pretty interesting. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, what the password I'm talking about is actually the administrator screen for your access point. If a lot of times people will set the password to their SSID right at home. Say your SSID is called, my home or whatever. They'll set that password, but they won't set the password to access the actual router itself, which is two separate. Do what now? If they get you the IP address, they can get them with the default username and password. Yeah, and then they can do whatever, change the password. But a lot of times, what hackers will do is, and this is the way it's used a lot of times, is they will glom onto your network to do malicious activity. So they don't want you to know what they've done. They don't want to mess up what you have. They just want to access your traffic, right, to do malicious things. It could be selling things on Craigslist illegally, is one example that actually happens. And then if the FBI traces that IP back to a location, it will be your location because they use your location to hack into to do that. And so it's hard to prove you didn't. You have to prove basically you didn't do it. But if you're at the house at the time it happened, like in bed, it's hard to prove you didn't do it. And so a lot of, you'd be surprised how many people actually get caught in that. And hackers in Chicago area, Schaumburg area, even in Rockford, residential folks have been prone to that attack. So just changing the admin password is really easy on all of your access points. And they all have default, like Linksys has a default username and password, 3Com, which isn't real popular, D-Link's a real popular one as well. But all of them have different username and passwords. You can't change the username generally. You don't have to. You can change the password though to something more difficult. Does that make sense? And so I would recommend changing it. Well, they do. The new routers will prompt you. The new routers will prompt you when you set up the router to change your password and actually send you that page. But the one thing they don't do is that people cancel out of that. It does send you the page, but they can cancel out of it. And it'll, they can't force you not to, they can't force you to change it, but they do force you to the page initially when you're setting it up. But a lot of people, what they'll do, believe it or not, is they'll just take a router out of the box, plug it in, and whatever the default SSID is, that's what they use, and totally open. Be surprised how many people do that. And so if it's a Netgear a network router, the default SSID is Netgear 11. That's what they're going to use. No password on the access and no change of the admin password on the router.
I think router I've got the past like 3-4 years has had some random, say like crazy
Yep.
penguin, and then whatever
Yep.
the thing that's already set up.
Yeah, and they do. Linksys is one of them that's done that for sure. But there are a few of them out there that don't do that. A few of the off-brand ones that don't do that. Linksys does do that, which I like, which I recommend Linksys to everybody. Do what?
Netgear does it too.
Yeah, Netgear does too. Yep. But again, changing that admin password is something that a lot of folks don't do, or they maybe do change, but it's not a secure password possibly. We'll also look at being able to identify and explain different kinds of cryptography algorithms, and look at concepts of physical security, meaning like in this room here, with this room's alarmed, like all of our Cisco labs are, and we have a camera or a proximity port in the corner of the room there that is infrared, for motion detection. And so when we secure this room, if I was to open the door with my proximity card and didn't know the passcode, within 30 seconds a silent alarm goes off and the police would be here. And so, but you'll notice too, in most classrooms, not this one because we have secure access, most classrooms in the building all over campus have all the monitors mounted by a cable to the table, just like this one up here has a cable monitor to the overhead projector. That's basically what it's talking about on physical security. But also physical security is referring to the server room, how folks can get in there. Some companies don't have a lot of money to spend on a server room, so a lot of companies I've worked for over the years have their server room in a modified closet, basically, right? And it works. It's not the best in the world, but it works. But they might not have that great of security to get in. It might be no security to get in. And so we'll talk about the ramifications to that and different types of ways you can secure doors, secure rooms, secure equipment. And then understand, lastly, disaster recovery. Every year here at Rock Valley, we do a disaster recovery in Colorado. We have 4 people that fly there for a week, take our latest backups that we back up here on campus, take it to a campus, an HP campus in Colorado, and within 24 hours, they restore the backup, set up voice over IP phones in Colorado, and then here in Rockford, we have a location to where they do the same here, to where they can pretty much mimic if the campus was all, God forbid, burned down or something. Within 24 hours, all student records and new locations for students that have classes would be set. And that's all set in place. There is a person we hire that writes a grant each year for that, because it's about $1.5 million for that grant each year to keep that going. But it's a governmental grant that we get. And so a lot of companies, though, have no disaster recovery, none. And might not even have backups on everything. And backups are crucial because servers do crash, databases do crash, and you got to have some disaster recovery for, hey, what happens if fill in the blank? And so we'll talk about that. And you actually have a couple weeks where we talk about when you're assessing things in your environment. I recommend getting somebody beside yourself to do that assessment, because when you're working for a place for a number of years or just starting out working at a place in IT, it's your baby, and you kind of get you're biased to what you do, right? You're biased to who you work with, what they do, and we're defensive like we are maybe for our own family, and which is natural, right? Normal. So when we do our own assessment, we're going to definitely be biased in areas, right? And maybe not see something. So by hiring or getting a friend of yours or an associate of yours to come in and do an assessment of your location, a security assessment, is definitely recommended and definitely helpful. You can hire folks up to, to do this, these types of assessments for like $100,000, but you can also hire, other companies that do it much cheaper. And what I've done over the years is actually just built a network of people that I know that I can call and say, hey, would you mind coming out and doing this, and I'll feed you and we'll pay you whatever stipend you need to come out and do it for much less money. And so one of the things I really push on students in this class, my 110 class, is while you're in school, building your network of folks that you know that can do that for you once you leave college, that you can call to get help. Does that make sense? And so that'll be a big thing we'll talk about. We do have, going back to the course, let's go into like week 1. The one thing I didn't go over at the top is live chat and course discussion, but live chat's available periodically throughout the week. If you have a question about something, I would recommend using the live chat link. If I'm not available, it'll tell you I'm not available. Second line of defense to get in contact with me is email. I do check my email quite often, and I'll get back with you quickly. So week 1, let's look into that real quick. Week 1, read chapter 1 sometime this week. There is a podcast out there already. Review questions, in-class lab, and quiz we'll look at here in a second. This is a podcast from last semester on week 1, session 1, which was today, last semester. About me, a few of you have already started filling out. Just tells me a little bit about yourself and others about yourself. Fill that out. Reply to others in here. I want you to reply to at least 2 other posts in here. You'll pick, say somebody likes, I don't know, steak. What kind of steak you like? Something like that. You don't have to reply to every single question that they have. So just kind of pick and choose what you want. Review questions in the back of your chapter, starting with chapter 1 and on down the road. There's review questions. All I need from you is the answers only. And so you'll give me your, number 1A, number 2B, number 3D possibly, and then we'll say number 4 might be an essay question. You'll give me that. And then post that in here. I do recommend on your review questions to do it outside of Eagle, like in Notepad or Word or something, or even on your phone. I've had students do it that way, and if you use a phone app. And then submit it once you have the questions all done. Make sense? And then submit it that way. You can copy and paste your questions in here because it's a text box entry, which lets you just copy and paste them in there.
Submitted by file or submitted?
Yeah, you can just paste it in there. It's fine. Yeah. Quiz, you get 3 chances on it, or I like to say 3 attempts, 3 opportunities for each quiz. It is open book, and I'll click on this button here to show you what it looks like, the first quiz here. So basically, you'll go through and select your answers, and when you go all the way down, the first week's actually the longest quiz, the rest of them aren't that long. Submit your quiz. It'll tell you if you have any unanswered questions. Say okay. But one of the cool things it'll do for you too is if you take a quiz, let's say you start one, and you have a phone call, or you have to go somewhere, or whatever the case may be. As long as you've answered at least one question in here, scroll down here to the bottom here. You'll notice down here at the bottom they've changed it. It's actually dynamically saving your quiz as you're answering. And so used to you had to actually click a button, but you don't have to do that anymore. And so what will happen is if I refresh this page, go back, will give me a temp link here where I can click on this and start it up again, right where I left off. Okay, so avail yourself to that. And I just recommend reading the chapter before taking the quiz. It'll be much easier for you. Otherwise, you will be forced back to the chapter reading to do your the work. So it said here, I did change the schedule though this semester. Our first lab is going to be next week instead of this week. So in the task it says there's a lab, there's not one. The first lab is going to be next week. Our first lab, we'll jump ahead to that one, which is week 2, next Thursday. This one is on resetting NT reset, resetting the password to a Windows machine. I also put in here the steps to how to reset a Mac OS admin password for those of you who have Macs in your environment. It's actually fairly easy to do, but I put in there the steps of how to do it. You don't need any special software for that. You just have a command that you'll type in. And so I put in there the steps for you. But anyway, on the NT reset lab, there's a PDF that goes over the lab. You'll also get a Linux distro, Linux CD that has the app on it, and we'll do that. Once you're used to using NT reset, it literally takes about a minute and a half to use, and you can reset any password. You boot up from the CD, and it goes through a few screens. You have to answer a number of questions, and it basically overwrites your password file, your hash password file on Windows, with a new file. And you can change an existing password, null out a password on any account on Windows. So that's the first lab. I also want to make mention, jumping ahead a little bit, next week, research paper topic is due next week. Everything in here is due Sunday of that week. All right? So this is Tuesday. Everything for week 1 is due Sunday at midnight. Okay? If you don't have your textbook right now, though, even though I do have review questions in here for week 1 and quiz 1 is in here for week 1 as well, if you have yet gotten your textbook, just let me know before you leave, and I'll give you a grace to next week to get that done without any any points off. So just let me know before you go. That'd be fine. Main thing this week is getting acclimated with getting your text in, if you haven't already got one, getting your 3-ring binder, getting that purchased at Walmart for $10. No, it only costs about $2 to get one. And that includes your binder and the plastic sheets and everything. If you don't have a binder, I probably have one I can give you. If you can't get one, I probably have a few laying around I can give you. So each week basically is going to be podcast. The podcast will be of this session on Tuesday. We're going to cover that course content for that chapter. Thursdays is going to be the lab. You'll come in, do the lab. When you're done with the lab, you'll leave. The iPads are only going to be used on Tuesday only with the QR code. And research review questions, is due each week as well. So you've got quiz due each week, review questions due each week, and then the lab. The lab's done in class, and it's 50 points for the lab. And when you're finished, I usually have you just submit your name in the lab that you've done it, that you were here basically. And there's very few labs I have you turn anything in. It's more all just hands-on labs where you do the lab, we talk about it afterwards for a few minutes, and then we're done with it. I'm not going to keep you later just because it says we have to keep you later. And so we talk about discuss the lab, any ramifications, anything you've experienced in your work too is also welcome that you've come across. If it's pertinent to that lab, bring it up and we'll talk about it. If you have any issues at work or problems at work, don't feel bad about coming up and asking me to help. I'd love to help you. Whether I do teach programming here, I am a full-time programmer through the week. I do iOS programming, Windows programming, web programming, but I also teach here, is going on my 16th year here, and I teach iOS mobile app development, PHP web development, network security, network essentials on Thursday, which is intro to networking, which is a fun lab, fun labs in that one as well. And then also I teach digital photography, and I've been 7 years on that. I was a graphic designer for a number of years, and so I still kind of dabble in photography and also in design and layout. And so if you ever have any questions on programming issues, so not just network security stuff I can help you with. More than glad to help you. Let's go around the room real quick. We'll end with going around the room and having everybody give us your name and why you're taking the course. So we'll start at the back, and then we'll work our way around, and we'll be done. Yeah.
My name is Andre. I'm taking this class. That's the question.
All right. One more class. Awesome. Great. Awesome. Good to have you. Yeah. Great. That's awesome. Good. We'll start over here on this side. Yep.
Malcolm. Taking this class. I get my
Good to have you.
Patrick. Network security.
All right. Good to have you. This row? Yeah.
No. Zach. Same thing.
Okay.
Tim, and I work with tech for preparation or blocking because of security issues. with,
Sure, definitely.
Hacking,
Yeah.
social, the IRS and stuff.
Right.
It's for self-improvement.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Yeah.
Jonathan, and I'm taking this class because I need another elective for my Cisco certificate.
All right. Great. Yes, sir.
Jonathan and network security, Cisco.
Great. So we have a plethora of Cisco network security folks, and then those for workplace uses. And so network security, well, you'll have fun this semester, hopefully, with the labs, but at the same time, learn some new skills. And Thursday, when you come to class, we're going to actually discuss Chapter 1 on Thursday, and we'll do some other things on Thursday, too. So bring your, you don't need to bring your 3-ring binder Thursday. So when you come to class, we'll discuss Chapter 1. I'll probably go over, also on Thursday, there is a thing in the back of your text that talks about a Security Plus certification. We'll talk about that if you might be interested in taking that while you're here on campus. Take advantage of Comptia Security Plus certification. which is kind of a middle-of-the-road certification. It's not Cisco, it's not Microsoft, it's a kind of middle-of-the-road. So it's a good certification. We'll talk about that. And if you have any questions, come see me before you leave, but I look forward to a great semester. So see you Thursday. And if you didn't sign in up here, you can go and do so before you leave. I'll help you.